There, my name is Carlo. Welcome to another tutorial. This tutorial is going to be based on a program called Mudbox 2014, which is created by Autodesk, the same people that make Maya, AutoCAD, so on and so on. Now, what is Mudbox? Mudbox is basically a sculpting tool. You can create sculptures from scratch with certain objects, or you can bring in projects that you've created from Maya into Mudbox to basically give it a finishing touch. So basically what I'm going to try and show you today is a quick overview of how you would use Mudbox. I'm not going to go into detail because it's it's very complicated and it takes a lot of time to work with Mudbox. So but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give you a rough idea of how to basically create a little something in Maya and then bring it over to Mudbox, but obviously how to start from Mudbox from scratch. So one thing to remember when using Mudbox, it's very RAM and CPU and GPU intensive, so make sure your computer's up to par if you are using this. Otherwise, once you start adding textures and shadings and stuff like that, if your computer's not up to par, you will see some dramatic lag within your project. But if your computer's up to par and it's a good spec, you should be absolutely fine. Okay, so for the beginning of this tutorial, I'm just going to pick one of these. When you first open up Mudbox, you're presented with one of this screen, and this just basically gives you some templates on what you can actually start off with. So what I'm going to do is just pick the head here, just click on that, don't know what that's all about. Okay, so I've got a magic mouse, so I'm able to zoom backwards and forwards, left and right, and so on and so on. So basically I'm just going to use the front view for now, and what we're going to do is just do a bit of sculpting. Now if you come over here, I've already got my system set to the x-axis, which basically means whatever I do on the left side will happen on the right side, and that's very good for making sure that your left and right sides are both accurate, basically both the same lengths, but you can manipulate them if you want by switching it off. So I'm just going to select that for now. This is your strength, so whatever you use down here in your toolbars, the larger this bar, the higher the numbers basically, the stronger it's going to be for whatever you're doing, and that's basically the size of your brush or whatever you're using. So if I come down here, we've got another little window down here, and these are all the little tools you can use. So for instance, if I click on the grab tool and I go to the ear, I can bring the ears up like so, and just basically start sculpting. When you first add these messages, there's only these frames. There's only so much you can do because your sub levels are set to 1, which basically means it will only go so far in letting you create. So what you have to do is you have to highlight it and then go to Shift and press D and just add some more layers. So now when I go down to my grab tool, I can put it on and I can just manipulate my objects just a little bit more, like so. Down here your stencils, your fall off material presets, so you can change the preset color of what you're working on. So if you just click on it, it'll render out and then add it to your sculptor. Always try and remember to change your lighting so it looks right. So if I select this one here, when you highlight, it'll show you that it's actually a backlit scene. So as you click on it, it'll render out and it'll give you basically a rough idea of what you're working with. Right, so what we do is we'll just go back to a basic colour for now. Let's go back to that one, white, and we'll just basically start sculpting. Let's go to a darker colour actually. And then we'll put the light in to that. Okay. So now what we want to do, we've got all these so we can smooth out and we can fill parts in. But what you have to do is you come over here to your material presets, sorry, to your stamps, and these are all the built-in presets that you can use. So if I click on that, I can add a texture. As you can see, there's a texture just happening right there to the skin. And obviously if you come over here, the harder your strength, the harder it's going to be, and the bigger your brush, the harder it's going to be. So I can just start adding textures to my character like so. And then what I can do is I can get my, where are you, my knife tool here if I want. And we can start in the middle and we can just go, let's make it a little. I've been doing a bit of moulding, as you can see, adding a bit of texture, just to save time just for this tutorial. So what I'm going to do now is show you a bit of texturing. Now, I always stick with wax, sounds a bit funny. Go over to my, my stamps. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to spin him round. Let this load up. And then what I'll do is I'll just show you literally on the back of his head the different sort of textures and stuff like that. So let's just zoom in. And what we're going to do with it on mirrored mode, because obviously I want things to sort of stay the same. Let's bring our strength a lot higher. Let's bring our size a lot higher. Let's pick this one here. So we bring that in like that. Now maybe the strength is a bit too high on that one. I don't really like the texture of that. So let's right. So as you can see, what we're doing is we're slowly manipulating the skin to get the best possible grain. As you can see, we're making him all sort of scaly. Don't worry too much about this because we can fix this, but I want sort of like the back of the head to green out. Yeah, I thought it'd be the best for this tutorial if I just sped it up, go to this bit that I'm at on a project, and then just go from there, so you're not bored, you know what I mean? So all we do is go to smooth, and we just smooth it over just a little bit where things are looking a bit crappy, if that makes sense. And as you can see, if you look up here, we've got a nice scaly back of the head. We'll go back to this bit here. Let's bring it down a little bit. And this is the sort of thing you basically do with Mudbox, is just adding finishing touches to your work, really, to make it look as realistic as possible. You know, it's a very, very good piece of software, but like I say, it's a bit RAM intensive. Let's go back to wax. It's a bit RAM intensive, so like I said before, make sure your computer is up to par. Right, so we've got the back of the head done. So as you can see, the scales, he's looking pretty awesome, but I'm not too pleased with this here because he looks a bit like a sort of like a bad jigsaw puzzle. That makes sense. So, but we can fix that anyway. So if we spin around to the front of his face, I've made him a scary sort of dodgy looking blood demon, but all I have to do now is fix up the teeth where they're just elevating from the mouth. So we'll bring the strength down, and then we'll bring the brush down, and then all you can do is just start working on the teeth. Maybe make it a bit, get the grab tool and just pull down and just basically sculpture him to the way you want. It's always good to work from a blueprint. If you're doing something off the top of your head, sketch yourself out a little picture so you know sort of where you're going with it. These longer. Right, so, because as you can see, because it's mirrored, both sides will move at the same time to give you sort of optimal effect. This guy here I just pulled out the top of my head, do you know what I mean? I just started making him and he started looking really cool. And then we'll get some wax. Yeah, let's get some wax. And we'll just make the size a bit smaller. And we're just going to go around the outline here. And whatever you're doing here obviously is happening on the other side as well to give you maximum, a nice level. I'm going to bring that out here and around to meet it there. So tie this up like that. I like having a lot of scaly textures to my characters. I just think it looks good. And obviously the top of the shoulder blades, we'll put that on top of the shoulder blades here. Make it look a bit rough around the edges. And that's basically what you're doing with Mudbox. It's just basically adding the best possible effect to your character. Colouring is obviously a different story when you're creating your colours and your palettes and stuff like that. That'll be another tutorial. But this is just basic, just to show you how to sort of manipulate objects. So what we'll do, just for fun, we'll go to a new scene. Save that the way it is. And we'll get another guy out and we'll start playing around with him again. Right, so we're set to keep all these settings the same because this program does know what it's doing. So let's get the grab tool and leave that there. Start bringing this out like this. Just grab and shape, grab and shape, grab and shape. Maybe we can do something with the head. Let's make the size of it a bit more heavier. And we're just going to grab the head out. You can go left, right, so we can make him into a right looking sort of demon here. The eyes, you can part sort of like that. But when you make the eyes, what you want to do is you want to use the knife tool and just gently dig in, like so, to make the eyes. And also the same on the mouth, so bring the two dots together and just bring the mouth out, like so. Don't worry about if it's too jaddery, because that's what your grab tool's for. Do you know what I mean? You could just go up to your grab tool here and you could just start manipulating the mouth and moving it the way you want. Make it longer, wider, and just basically the idea is just to play around with it, sculpt something and make it look like what you want it to look like. So what I would do personally is I would just cut the eyes out again here, to give it a little bit of a deep hole, so you've got the cheekbones here, and then I will just grab it like so and just bring it down just a bit. And then what we can do, we can go to create mesh, and let's go for a sphere. Alright, now you've got the sphere here and it's over the top here, so all you want to do is come down to this tool here, select scale. It's still on this bit here, so we want to come back to the object list, select the sphere and just make it smaller, basically. Make it small there, make it small there, make it small there. Pan around, because obviously it's not going to be in the same place, it's going to start off at the center axis. So what we're trying to do is make this into a small circle, okay? Doesn't have to. It's not going to be accurate for this tutorial sort of teaching you. But then all we do is we're just going to bring that into position like so. Bring it round like this, and then bring it in like that. So now we've got an eye like this, and then all you do is play around with it, bring it in like that, bring it out. So, and then if we right click here on the sphere, we can duplicate the objects. So now, bang, we've got two. So we saved a bit of time on making the eyes. So now all you would do is come back to your sculpt tool, get grab, and then just, you know, pull the eyes over, pull these up just to make it look a little bit decent, like so. And then you can start doing your little bits and pieces with the mouth. Whoops, like so. Bring it down to make him look a bit pissed off, and bring it up a bit like so. Yeah, that don't look too bad. You can bring the horns up a little bit more like so. Bring this down and bring it in, and then what you can do, you can go to, say for instance, stick to your stamp tool, and then we can go to, say, material, go to wax, and we can start manipulating the shape of his body, or we can start filling in certain points just to give it that bit of a sort of a nice finishing touch. But what we're going to do now, let's find and we're going to switch that off. Let's go to wax again. Don't like that one. Let's select this one. Okay, and then oh, that's gone wrong. Just go undo. So you have to be very careful. Sometimes you can mess it up if you're not too careful. Let's go to this one. Let's change, first of all, let's change the colour tone. So we'll select this red here, because I always like that. We'll go to light and presets, and then we'll select this one here. Okay, so when you hover over it, it'll tell you what sort of line it is. I've always liked Chapel. I think it's just a really beautiful, it's just a really nice way, a colour to a texture with. I don't know why, I've just always liked it. So let's go back to the stamp, let's go back to here, and then, why isn't that happening? Let's go back to here, and let's go to fill. So now all we're doing is bring the brush over, bring this strength up just a touch, put your mirror on, and then we should be able to start just moulding him into shape. As you can see, bring the neck down, we can play with the horns a bit more, bring them out just a touch, and just making him just look a little bit more like a demon for night. And grab this bit here, and then we can just bring that down like that, bring that up like that. And all you're doing is just playing around with him, basically. That's all you're doing, is just playing around. And let's get the sculpt here. Yeah, you're just playing around with him and just adding various textures to him to make him look the best he can be, really. And the great thing about this is it's up to you how you want him, you know, how you want him to look, how you want your character to look. So that's gone wrong, we don't want him to look like that. So yeah, I hope this has helped. It's just a little, you know, quick tutorial on how to mould and shape, but obviously there's a lot more to this than meets the eye, really. But the best thing to do is you know, practice makes perfect on stuff like this. So you've got all your paint tools here, you've got all your curve tools, you've got your pose tools here, how you want them to pose, and then you can move them around with this. But mostly when you're sculpting, you'll be using this more than anything, which is great because it's good fun. And like I said, just play around with it, and create amazing characters. Also with this, you can, if you come up to File, you should be able to, you can export this to Maya, and vice versa. So when you're in Maya and you're creating a character, I'll just quickly show you. So if I go to, just quit Mudbox for a second, I just don't save that. If I open up Maya now, okay, what we can do is we can create anything and then basically export it straight into Mudbox. So I'll just quickly show you this quickly. So if I just go to create anything, so if I just go to create, let's do a polygon primitive, let's go to a sphere. So if I just bring this up like this, what I can do is I can come up to File, and then I can send straight to Mudbox like that. So when I select that, it will automatically open up your Mudbox. You just have to wait for Mudbox to open. Keep it all. And there you go. The sphere you've just created is in Mudbox. And not only that, can you imagine if you create a character in Maya, you can also sculpt with it, like so, and you just play around with it. But obviously it will come as at the lowest settings, so just remember to hold your shift and just add more polygons to it, so you've got a more smoother thing to work with, do you know what I mean? And then you can start adding your bits to it, adding your different grains, and that's basically how it works, really. Creativity, you know, and that's basically what it's all about. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this. I'm going to do a full-on tutorial on this, and what we're going to do is we're going to create a full-blown character within Maya, and then we're going to import them together and send them to, I don't know why I've got an error there, send them to Mudbox. So yeah, hope to see you again soon.